Well, hello, boys and girls, and welcome to a special edition of Movie Goodness, where we examine life through cinema here on the KB Radio Network. And this is our 2023 Summer Movie Preview Edition. We are jumping into the summer season, and we have a lot of films coming out this year, this summer. We already got a head start just this past week with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which unofficially kicked off the summer movie season, in my humble opinion, because it is a big Marvel movie. We're uh, basically every week after that is going to be boom, 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 boom. And I mean, multiple films in one week. And some it's kind of a head scratcher, really. When you think about like uh we're gonna get to it, of course, but in July or it may be June, I'm it's so much coming out. I'm getting all twisted up. But on the same weekend, you're gonna have Barbie come out, and Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer coming out in the same weekend. Granted, two completely different movies, two completely different audiences, but these are two big blockbuster films, and they're coming out in the same week. And we have a couple of weekends that are like that, where we have two big blockbuster films coming out in the same weekend. Normally, a studio would, they play chicken and one of them would move the date. But with so much coming out and it's so log jammed with films this year, there's no moving. There's nowhere to move, so they have to stick with their dates, and it's completely understandable. But it puts a strain on our wallets, if not our stress level, because we sitting in the theater or in the parking lot of the theater just trying to decide which one we're going to see. If we're unable to go see both, it's like, oh, let's flip a coin. Let's play rock, paper, scissors. Let's see which one we're going to go see today. And it's going to be a fun summer. Very, very fun summer in the theater. And I've missed it. I really do miss it. I miss this type of summer movie going season. You know what I'm saying? It's been about 5, 6 years. I can't even blame it on the pandemic. Actually, before the pandemic, summer movie season hasn't really popped like it used to when I was growing up. The summertime was when you got Hollywood's best blockbusters, whether it was the special effects, action, the comedies, with all the cameos and stuff like that. I mean, the big money movies. And as of late, recently, we haven't gotten that. Now, in recent, yeah, we can blame the pandemic, but now we're back into form. And so let's jump into our summer movie season, and let's start with this week. Let's start with the month of May. Starting this Friday, we have a film coming out that I knew nothing about. And it looks interesting. The writer and director of this film is a filmmaker that I've been a fan of since his earlier works. The actor, the star of this film, is an actor that I am a big fan of, and it is Hypnotic. And it is starring Ben Affleck, and it is written and directed by Robert Rodriguez, who is a very awesome filmmaker. This goes back to Desperado, From Dusk Till Dawn, The Falcatee, Spy Kids 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and 7s, uh, Planet Terror, Sin City. He has made some awesome films. Recently, the last film he made was Battle Angel, which was a really good film. I think underrated because I don't hear a lot of people talk about Battle Angel, but Battle Angel is a sneaky good film. But we fast forward to this film, Hypnotic, which comes out this Friday, May the 12th, in theaters. And it stars, as I said before, Ben Affleck. And the premise of this film is a detective becomes entangled in a mystery involving his missing daughter in a secret government program while investigating a string of impossible high-end heists. This is a science fiction action thriller, and I'm happy to see Ben Affleck in a film like this. This looks like something uh that was tailor made for him. I miss Ben Affleck in these little action films, stemming back from Armageddon and Pearl Harbor and even Daredevil, and of course his stint as Batman. And we'll see him again later on, but we'll get to that. But I'm a big fan of Ben Affleck. I love him in front of and behind the camera. So Hypnotic is the first film to drop this summer season this Friday in theaters. Also this Friday we have a movie that's coming out on Netflix. And speaking of Ben Affleck, hey, it's kind of coincidental that his lovely wife has a film coming out on Netflix the very same weekend. Yes, Jennifer Lopez. And this is a action drama entitled The Mother, just in time for Mother's Day. This is a uh well, I'll just come out and say it. It's a Netflix movie. It looks like a Netflix movie, and Jennifer Lopez is limited as an actress, I would say, and I like Jennifer Lopez, but her acting is not going to win any awards. The closest she would have came was that Scripper movie. What was it? The Hustle, I think was the name of it. That was her best performance I ever seen her on film. But you know, all her other efforts did not work for me. For me. But I still love her. But this looks like an interesting plot. The premise goes is this: while fleeing from dangerous assailants, an ex assassin comes out of hiding to protect her estranged daughter she left earlier in her life. This film is directed by Nikki Caro, who directed the live action Mulan film that came out a couple of years ago. So, The Mother drops on Netflix this Friday, May the 12th. Moving on to next week in theaters. um, we are getting the 10th Fast and the Furious film. Yes, yes. And this ain't the last one because they have one more after this. This is the second to last one. It would have been nice to wrap it up with 10, a nice round number. Why they're ended it with 11, the world may never know. But why are they still making these movies? I don't know. Well, I do know because these movies make $1 billion. This is the most cheesiest, redundant franchise on the face of God's green earth. Don't get me wrong. I have watched every one of these movies, and they get dumber and dumber, sillier and sillier every single rip. Do you realize in Fast 9 or F9, whatever it's called, the last one, they went into space. They took a car into space. I will give this franchise this. It knows what it is and it leans right into it. And I gotta respect it. You gotta respect it. Fast X drops in theaters May the 19th. And man, look, as always, the cast is stacked. You have Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris. This go around, we have Jason Momoa, we have Jordana Brewster, John Cena returning, Jason Statham is returning, uh, Brie Larson is in this movie. Helen Mirren returns, Charlize Theron return. I mean, my God, man, it's just a cast that is completely ridiculous as well because half of these characters died in some in some shape or form or fashion throughout this franchise, but they come back. This has become a superhero franchise. It has become a comic book franchise. It's just that silly, but I don't know what it is. I had told myself after Fast 9, when I saw that car go into space, when I saw them literally hit the gas pedal and run into a satellite, I knew this was it for me. I'm out. I'm done. I've seen enough. I've seen enough. Then they dropped the trailer, and I said, I'll go see it. I'll go see it. And it suckered me in. I don't know why. These movies suck me in, just like they sucker everybody else in. It's probably going to make another $1 billion. We shall see on May the 19th when Fast X speeds into theaters. Also on May the 19th, we have a film that's dropping on Hulu. It's not even wasting its time in theaters. And I don't even know why I'm talking about it, but I feel I have to in a sense because I know there's an audience for this film. And honestly, it hurts me to my heart that they made this movie. This is a remake of the 1992 classic White Men Can't Jump, amply titled White Men Can't Jump. Yes, they remade White Men Can't Jump. This go around, you have Jack Harlow and Senqua Walls starring in this film. Um, the only reason I will watch this movie is because Lance Reddick is in this film. This is one of his last films. In case you don't know, Lance Reddick passed away a couple of months ago, and this is one of his last performances. Why he agreed to be in this movie, I don't know. But this looks horrible. This looks so bad, and it doesn't help that this is the same director of another remake that came out a couple of months ago, House Party, a movie that I've only gotten through the first 5 minutes of, and I tried to watch it 3 times, and I just cannot watch that movie. In this go around, he was returning with another remake of a '90s classic, and I don't know why. Leave this alone. They had no reason to do this. It was no reason to make this movie. And then you have Kenya Barris writing this film. I, I'm to the point now. I can honestly say I'm not a fan of Kenya Barris. I'm holding on to some type of respect for him because of Blackish, and I'm a big fan of Blackish that he created. But nothing else that he's done I enjoy. Nothing. And once again, I'm not excited for this. And so we, uh, it's on Hulu, so it's not gonna hurt anything. So I guess I will check it out for the sake of this show. I probably will end up reviewing it. Um, I don't want to, but I'm gonna I'm gonna try. But White Men Can't Jump slam dunks onto your television screens May the 19th on Hulu. Our last film in May that is a big one and is primed to just cause riots and protests, and I can just see all of these uh, these racist white folks ready to burn down movie theaters because of this film's release, and it is the live action remake of The Little Mermaid. And why will white folks be upset? Because in this remake, this version of The Little Mermaid, Ariel is black, and the trailer caused uproar. So I can just imagine when this movie comes out on May the 26th, it's going to be so much racial tension surrounding this film, and it's you gotta laugh at it because people are stupid. We're talking about a fictional character and a mythical creature that people are upset because of his skin color. That just goes to show you how racist people are. But The Little Mermaid follows a mermaid named Princess Ariel who makes a deal with the treacherous sea witch Ursula to trade her voice to human legs in order to impress Prince Eric, who is saved from a shipwreck before the time runs out. Uh, as I said, you have Bailey as Ariel, Haley Bailey, not Holly Berry, so don't get confused. She plays Ariel in this film. You have Aquafina in this film, Jacob Tremblay, Javier Bardem, and you have Melissa McCarthy as Ursula, which is, I think, perfect casting. I can't wait to see her just chew up the scenery as this sea witch. Uh, yeah, it's gonna be fun, and I can't wait to watch it. If nobody else want to watch it, I'm going to watch it on Friday, May the 26th. The Little Mermaid. All right, that's it for May. Let's jump into the jam-packed month of June. So there's no reason to dilly dally. Starting on June the 2nd, we have Spider Man Across the Spider Verse. This is one of the highly anticipated films of the year. This is a film that was pushed back at least 30 times, it feels like, due to the COVID uh, pandemic. And I've, I've been wanting this. I'm a big fan of the first film, Into the Spider Verse, from 2018, I believe, and couldn't wait for the sequel. And we have two of them. We also have Spider Man Beyond the Spider Verse, which will come out next year, God willing, in March. But before that, on June the 2nd, we are getting Spider Man Across the Spider Verse. Also on June the 2nd, we have a horror film from the mind of the great Stephen King, and it is The Boogeyman. In this film, I have no idea what this movie is about. But what drew me to it was Stephen King and the writers of A Quiet Place. And so that's all I needed to hear. So once I found all that out, I was like, okay, I'm willing to give this a shot. The Boogeyman scares his way into theaters on June the 2nd. Staying in June, the very next week on June the 9th, we have a comedy that I didn't think I wanted to see, but I really want to see. And it is Strays. And this is a film that uh, is a live action film, but you have top comedic actors voicing these dogs. And and the premise of this film, when a dog named Reggie, voiced by Will Ferrell, is abandoned on the streets by his selfish and rootless owner Doug, played by Will Forte, he teams up with other strays, including Bud, voiced by Jamie Foxx, uh, Maggie, voiced by Aisha Fisher, and a therapy dog named Hunter, voiced by Randall Park, to get revenge on Doug, an animal hating drug addict who never wanted him. Um, if you need reassurance on how this film is going to be, go look at the trailer. Go watch the trailer for this movie. And if you don't spit water out your mouth, even though you're not drinking, something is wrong. This looks like it's going to be hilarious. Strays drops in theaters on June the 9th. All right. Also on June the 9th is a scary movie. And it's not a horror film. It's scary because I don't know what to expect. We have the seventh, yes, seventh installment to the Transformers franchise, Transformers Rise of the Beast. I was excited for this movie because I am a giant Transformers fan. I'm a kid of the 80s, so I love Transformers. I remember begging my dad to bring me to go see Transformers the movie. And what was that, 85? Was it 86? I can't remember. But either way, he brought me, and I regretted it because that was when Optimus Prime died, and I cried the rest of the movie. It was brutal, but I love Transformers, and so when Michael Bay made a live action Transformers movie, and Steven Spielberg executive produced it. And I was like, okay, man, this is going to be exciting. And the first one knocked it out the park. It had everything I wanted in a Transformers movie. The second one, not so good. The third one, I enjoyed. Everyone after that was garbage. I liked Bumblebee. Bumblebee was returned to form. Bumblebee felt like a, a Transformers cartoon. It felt like the old cartoons. I connected to that movie more. Well, we fast forward to now, Transformers Rise of the Beast. This is a sequel to Bumblebee. So this is a continuation of Bumblebee, not so much forgetting the other previous Transformers films, but this is kind of rebooting the franchise, which is desperately needed. This film is directed by Stephen Cable Jr., who directed Creed 2. And I'm happy to see him get this big budget film under his belt. The premise of Transformers Rise of the Beast is in the year 1994, a pair of archaeologists from Brooklyn come into an ancient artifact through a globe-trotting adventure with the Autobots that ties in to the three factions of the Transformers race: the Maximals, the Predacons, and the Terracons. I am excited for this, man. I'm scared, but I'm excited. The human actors in this film is Anthony Ramos, Dominique Fishback. Uh, that's all they listed as humans. All the rest are Autobots and Decepticons and whatnot. But I'm interested to see where they go with this. Hopefully, it's not a train wreck. I just want it to be successful. If it's successful, we can get a trilogy out of this. Going by the last trailer, it looks like they introducing Unicron. I don't know why they introducing Unicron so early, but whatever. We shall see. Transformers: Rise of the Beasts drops in theaters June the 9th. Continuing on, we have a Pixar film. And what would a summer be without a Pixar movie? We have Elemental. And Elemental is a computer animated romantic comedy drama from the good people over at Disney and Pixar. The premise of Elemental: in a city where fire, water, land, and air residents live together, a fiery young woman and a go with the flow guy are about to discover something elemental, how much they actually have in common. And in case you didn't get the puns there, the fiery young woman, she is an element of fire. And the go with the flow guy, he's an element of water. And opposites attract? So we shall see how this turns out. You know, hey, Pixar hasn't done me wrong. I've yet to see a bad Pixar film. So hopefully they don't start now. Elemental drops in theaters on June the 16th. All right. Also on June the 16th. Let me see if I can do this justice. I am over the moon excited for this movie for so many reasons. So many reasons. I love horror comedies. Well, I love horror. I love comedies. I love horror comedies. I love seeing an all black cast in a movie that you normally don't see a all black cast. That tells me that we have arrived. So when I see stuff like that, it is a joy. And if you haven't seen the trailer for The Blackening, The Blackening, if you haven't seen the trailer for this movie, I implore you to go watch this trailer. This looks amazing. This movie looks so amazing. Now I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, this movie is directed by Tim Story. I have a love-hate relationship with Tim Story. Tim Story directed Barbershop, which I is one of my sneaky favorite good movies. I favorite movies, should I say? I really enjoy Barbershop, the first one. But he also directed Shaft. He also directed Taxi. He also directed Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. So it is Tim's story. It is hard. But if he just do a comedy, I'm all for it. And this is the movie for him. I'm confident that he's gonna knock this out the park. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna nail him to the cross on this one. So I am looking for him to knock this out the park. The premise of the blackening, the film interrogates the trope that the African American character is often the first to die in horror movies by placing an all black group of friends in a cabin in the woods where they are confronted with a masked killer who demands that they rank their degree of blackness so that he can determine the correct order in which to kill them, and must rely on the combination of street smarts and their own knowledge of horror film tropes to survive. Sign me up. I cannot wait to see this movie. Yes, it comes out the same day as Transformers Rise of the Beast. I'm going to see this first. That's how excited I am for this movie. The tagline in this movie is "We can't all die first." I want to. This looks amazing. This I cannot wait for this movie. When I saw, I did not know anything about it. I just happened to see the trailer when it dropped, and I watched it. I'm like, is this real? Is this a real movie? And it just kept going, and they kept playing to those typical horror tropes, and I'm like, oh my god, I need to see this. I cannot wait for this on June the 16th. Uh, of course, what better time on Juneteenth weekend? We get the blackening. Oh man, I cannot wait. Oh, well, here's where the problem comes in at. There's a slight problem on June the 16th. I did say Transformers come out that week. I think I was wrong on that. Transformers come out the week before. Yeah, Transformers come out the week before. But something does come out with the blackening on June the 16th. I'm gonna have to take back what I said. I'm gonna, say, I'm gonna take back what I said. I'm going to see it that weekend, but it's after I go see The Flash. The Flash finally drops in theaters on June the 16th after multiple delays. It's multiple. We were supposed to get this movie 2 years ago. That's how much it's been delayed. But uh, is it worth the wait? I, Judging by early reviews, early reactions from test screenings and all this here, this movie has been described as the best superhero movie ever made universally. Maybe one or two people said it was all right, but I've yet to hear this is a bad movie. From now, granted, it's a small number of people who have seen this movie, but overall, overall, it has been universally loved, and I'm all for it. I don't care. I don't care what people. They all can say it sucked. I'm going to see this movie, and this movie has everything I want in a DC film. Yes, you have the Flash, who is one of my favorite characters. The Ezra Miller aside from it, I know we all know the history of Ezra Miller, what they've been going through with the criminal charges and all this other stuff. Fine, whatever. But you cannot deny his portrayal of Barry Allen is awesome. I love his portrayal of, or their portrayal of, Barry Allen. Along with the Flash, in this film, you have Supergirl, you have General Zod, you have Batman, not one, but two. Yes, in this film, not only are you getting Ben Affleck returning as Batman, after what, 20 years, 30 years, maybe, we get the return of Michael Keaton as Batman. That take all my money. And this has been, they have said that there are some surprises in here. There are some surprise cameos in here. This is setting up the new DC moving forward, is going to kind of spearhead that. So I'm excited to see how that go. This looks amazing. The trailers look amazing. The reactions look amazing. I'm I'm gonna leave it alone. We'll talk more about it when we get to June. Trust me, we're gonna talk more about it in June. On June the 16th, we finally get The Flash in theaters. All right. Also, in the month of June, we get a sequel to a film that caught me off guard a few years ago, Extraction. And we're getting Extraction 2 dropping on, you guessed it, June the 16th. That's going to be one heck of a weekend for me. Extraction 2, we see returning Chris Hemsworth as the character of Tyler Reich, who was presumed dead in the first film. Spoilers if you haven't seen it, but whatever. A black ops mercenary returns for another high stakes mission. Look, if this was one of the surprise hits of a few years ago on Netflix, one of the best films outside of the Thor franchise in the MCU that Chris Hemsworth has been a part of. You know, Chris Hemsworth has kind of struggled outside of the MCU, but with that film, I actually enjoyed every part of it, and it wasn't just his flawless acting, the best acting we've seen from Chris Hemsworth. I could care less about that. I couldn't even tell you the plot of it, but it was just an action, adrenaline fueled movie. And we're getting the sequel to it this go around on Netflix on June the 16th. I can't wait for Extraction 2. Staying in the land of television and streaming services, over on Disney Plus, not to be outdone this summer, they're dropping a television miniseries that I've been anticipating as well as everybody else who is a fan of the MCU. On June the 21st, we're finally getting Secret Invasion, which stars Samuel L. Jackson returning as Nick Fury. Secret Invasion, we see Nick Fury uncover a conspiracy for a group of shape shifting Skrulls to infiltrate Earth and portions of power around the world, recruiting Everest K. Ross, Maria Hill, and Tolos to stop it and save humanity. Joining Samuel L. Jackson in this show, we have Ben Mendelsohn as Tolos, Kobe Smulders as Maria Hill, Kingsley Ben Adar, Amelia Clark, Olivia Colman, uh, Don Cheadle is returning here. We also have Martin Freeman in this film, in this show, should I say. This looks good. I am excited for this because Secret Invasion in the comics was a big storyline, big, huge storyline in the comics, and a lot of, I guess you could say, ramifications happen after the events of Secret Invasion. So it's going to be fun to see if they kind of follow. Well, I know they're not, because they haven't followed any storyline per se from the comics, not Barbatum. So I want to see what happens with Secret Invasion. This looks very intense. It's not going to be that bubbly, happy, She-Hulk show that we got, or even Hawkeye to a degree. Those were just happy, fun time shows. This looks like it's going to be a true thriller, spy, espionage type show, and I'm all for it. Secret Invasion drops on Disney Plus on June the 21st. going back into the theater on June the 23rd, we have a film from Wes Anderson, who uh, has given us such classics as The Royal Tenenbaums, The Grand Budapest Hotel, and so on and so forth. This go around, he is giving us a science fiction romantic comedy drama, Asteroid City. And he is known for having big casts, real big ensemble cast in his films, and this film is no exception. This go around, we have Jason Schwartzman, Scarlett Johansson, Tom Hanks, Jeffrey Wright, Taylor Swinton, Bryan Cranston, Edward Norton, Adrian Brody, Hope Davis, Stephen Park, Rupert Friend, Steve Carell, Matt Dillon, William Dafoe, Margot Robbie, Jeff Goldblum. The list goes on and on. It's a long list of, of actors in this film. This looks funny. The premise of it is in 1955, students and parents from across the country gather for a scholarship competition, rest, recreation, comedy, drama, and romance at a junior stargazing convention held in the fictional American desert town where an asteroid crash landed. I am interested to see how Wes Anderson handles a science fiction film because Wes Anderson is a true independent filmmaker. You know, I like his films. He is it is they have the Roy Tenenbaums is one of my favorite films of all time. Me and my wife love that movie, and I just love his directing style. You know what I'm saying? It's it is what it is. It's cut and dry, and so I want to see how this turns out. And plus, this cast is stacked, and I want to see how that works as well. Asteroid City releases in theaters on June the 23rd. Okay, also on June the 23rd is a comedy that that I am excited to see. It looks like an old school sex comedy, you know, in the vein of American Pie, you know, Sex Drive, and you know, movies like that from the early 2000s, late 90s, you know, those type of comedy films. But this film stars a Oscar winner, Jennifer Lawrence. No hard feelings. This looks completely ridiculous. And this looks like something that Jennifer Lawrence might knock out the park, man. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence, I never really grasped the Jennifer Lawrence thing. She's a beautiful woman, but as far as her acting, I never was like, oh man, she is an exceptional actress. You know what I'm saying? Like she's dominated for almost every movie she was in at one point. And I never understood because she plays the same character in every movie. You know, she never changes in any movie. And this is the first time when I watched the trailer, I had to remember that it was Jennifer Lawrence. She was different in this in this trailer. I don't know how the movie gonna turn out, but it looks like something that she just said forget it and just went out there and just went nuts. And this looks like a complete nuts bonkers movie. The premise of No Hard Feelings. Uh, the film is set in New York, where Maddie, a Uber driver who is facing bankruptcy after her car is repossessed, accepts an unusual Craigslist posting. Her new employers are parents who have noticed that their socially clueless but academically gifted teenage son is not interested in human interaction, dating women, or having sex. In exchange for a Buick Regal, she agrees to become their son's boyfriend, to date his brains out and and help him to join adult life. This just looks like a good time in the theaters, a fun comedy that you could just sit down and laugh on. It's nothing that's going to set the world on fire, but it is a good escape. And we can all escape on June the 23rd in theaters. No hard feelings. Well, that leads us to the last film of June, and it is a juggernaut. It is the fifth film in the Indiana Jones franchise, and I would say the fifth and final film if you let Harrison Ford tell it. And I'm pretty sure that it's definitely the final film for him. And it is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And this film, this go around, unlike the previous four Indiana Jones films that were all directed by Steven Spielberg, this go around, we get James Mangold as the director of this film, and I'm not mad at it. I'm a huge Spielberg fan, but James Mangold, if somebody was going to take over for Spielberg for an Indiana Jones film, James Mangold was the perfect choice. Being as though he had the perfect send off for Wolverine, for Logan in Logan. And so if this is going to be a send off for Indiana Jones, hey, he knows how to send off iconic characters. Yes, Harrison Ford is returning with his 150-year-old self, still with the whip and the fandora. Uh, Joining him is Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Miss Mickelson, Antonio Banderas, and many more on this new adventure. The premise of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. In 1969, American archaeologist and adventurer Indiana Jones lives against the backdrop of the space race. Jones is uneasy over the fact that the United States government has recruited former Nazis to help beat the Soviet Union in the competition to make it to space. His goddaughter, Helen Shaw, accompanies him on his journey. Meanwhile, a NASA member and ex-Nazi involved with the moon landing program wishes to make the world into a better place as he sees fit. Yep, I'm all for this. And this is actually based on facts, people. In during the space race, the United States government did indeed hire ex-Nazi members to help them in a space program and with other divisions of the government. So look it up. This is true. So this is based off of fact. But just adding the element of Indiana Jones, who is known for fighting Nazis. So this ought to be exciting. I can't wait for this on June the 30th for one last go around, which will probably have me crying at the end of this movie. Indiana Jones in the Dial of Destiny. And we have arrived at the month of July. And we're starting off July with a horror film, a sequel, if you will, the fifth film in the Insidious film franchise, Insidious the Red Door. In this film, which stars Patrick Wilson, who starred in the previous films, is making his directorial debut in this film. And Insidious the Red Door, set 10 years after the ending events of the second film, Josh Lambert heads east to drop his son Dylan off at an Ivy League university. However, Dylan's college dream becomes a nightmare when the repressed demons of his past suddenly return to haunt them both. To end the haunting and put the demons to rest once and for all, Josh and Dylan must return once again to the further in order to stop the Lambert nightmare for good. I am all in on this. Insidious, the first Insidious, has the most terrifying scenes in horror films I've ever seen. I watched that movie in the daytime and I was scared to death. I mean, James Wan directed the first, and it really just wrecked me. To this day, to this day, it's it still gets me. It is a frightening film, and I love it. you know, I love it. I love to be scared to death for some strange reason, and hopefully, Insidious: The Red Door will scare the poo out of me on July the 7th. Also on July the 7th, we have a comedy starring Ashley Park and Stephanie Shu, Joyride. And Joyride premise is childhood best friends Audrey and Lolo, accompanied by Audrey's former roommate Kate and Lolo's cousin Deadeye, set out on a journey across China to find Audrey's birth mother. This looks fun. This looks like the Asian girls trip. It looks funny. I'm a huge Stephanie Shu fan. She's just coming off of her Academy Award nominated performance from Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, and the marvelous Mrs. Mabel and Poker Face and countless other TV shows and movies. I'm a huge fan of hers, and this looks funny. I saw the trailer, and even though this isn't 100% my demographic, it looks funny, and I would love to check this out. So we'll get our chance on July the 7th, Joyride in theaters. All right, we have a film on July the 12th that we are getting once again, having been pushed back about 30 times. Uh, because Tom Cruise refused to let this film go to streaming service, and I completely understand. This needs to be experienced in theaters. It is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part One. Uh, of course, in case you can't tell by the title, this is the first half of the end of the Mission Impossible franchise. Part two comes out next summer, and it will be the final go around for Ethan Hunt. And so we ought to soak this up and enjoy. Uh, of course, Tom Cruise needs a break, man. He needs to stop these these death-defying stunts in every movie with this franchise. The man's gonna kill himself, so he needs to stop while he's ahead. Hopefully, nothing happens while they're wrapping up Dead Reckoning Part Two. But I'm excited for this. I am so excited for this. I'm a huge fan of this franchise as well. I'm a huge spy action thriller lover. I love these films, and Tom Cruise, uh, he is made for movies. He's made for theatrical films. He makes movies so we can put our behinds in the seats in the theater, and he does a great job of it. Just this past summer with Top Gun Maverick, which took the world by storm, and I'm confident that we're going to get another big Tom Cruise film this summer with Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, dropping in theaters July the 12th. All right, on July the 21st, this is the weekend I was talking about. This is a crazy weekend in in the movie theaters. We have two films coming out this weekend in the theaters that couldn't be further apart from each other. That's going to split the box office completely in half. And for good reasons. The first one is Barbie. Uh Based off of the Mattel dolls. Um Barbie stars Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling as Barbie and Ken, respectively. This is the pinkest movie you ever gonna see. It's so much pink, but this looks so good. I don't know. I should not be excited for this movie, but I am. I am super excited for a Barbie movie. The premise of this film is after being expelled from Barbie Land for being a less than perfect doll, Barbie sets off to the real world to find true happiness. I'm 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 all in on this movie. It's really nothing else to explain other than the fact that it looks perfect. I mean, this movie looks perfect. to say it's a Barbie movie. I mean, what more can you expect from a Barbie movie? But this particular look, it, it just looks it looks right. When the trailer came out and I watched it, I had to watch it again. I watched it maybe 2 or 3 times actually, and I just to really get a grasp that this really happened. They're really doing this, man. This looks perfect. There's no other way you could have made this movie. And so I cannot wait to see Barbie, which drops in theaters on July the 21st. But also on July the 21st, we have probably an Oscar contender. If not Barbie, Barbie could be an Oscar contender. Who knows? But I know this one's for certain, and it is Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. And this is a biographical film, and it is about J. Robert Oppenheimer, who was an American physicist credited for being the father of the atomic bomb. This film stars Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer, Elizabeth Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Remy Malik, Josh Hartnett, Kenneth Branagh, and the list goes on and on and on. This looks like an amazing film. And when you talk about Christopher Nolan in a epic film, this is the type of film that uh it just feels real. He has a way of making these science fiction type movies feel real. And this isn't science fiction, of course. This is an actual, true story. But he has a way to put you in the drama, put you in the action, and it feels like a grounded movie, even though it's fantastical. And I'm excited to see how he pulls this off with Oppenheimer. It was reports that he wanted to actually detonate an atomic bomb just to get the authentic feel for it. I think he was talked out of it, thank God. But he's just that type of director. But this looks amazing. An amazing cast, an amazing director. Can't wait. Oppenheimer drops in theaters on July the 21st. Also on July the 21st, over on Netflix, we have a science fiction comedy mystery that I've been waiting for. This been pushed back as well for a while, but we're finally getting it, and it is They Clone Tyrone. And this film stars John Boyega and Jamie Foxx, and it just looks like pure insanity. It looks like the most out of left field movie you ever going to see. And the premise goes as this: a series of eerie events thrust an unlikely trio onto the trail of a nefarious government conspiracy in this pokey comedy mystery caper. I want to see it. For the simple fact, it just looks weird. This looks like a weird movie, and I'm a big fan of weird. So I want to see this. And Jamie Foxx, prayers up for Jamie Foxx, by the way. In case you don't know, Jamie Foxx had a medical condition. Some people are reporting he had a stroke about a month ago. He had to be rushed to the hospital, and he is recovering from what I last read, but we want to keep him in prayer that he recovers fully. But I love Jamie Foxx in these type of roles. John Boyega needs to be in more starring roles than he's actually getting. This looks fun, and hey, I'm all for it. They Cloned Tyrone drops in, well, not in theaters, on Netflix on July the 21st. All right. On July the 28th, our last film in July, we have a film based off of a Disney ride. It's another Disney theme park ride film, and this is Haunted Mansion, and it is a supernatural horror comedy film, and it stars Lakeith Stanfield, Tiffany Haddish, Owen Wilson, Danny DeVito, Rosario Dawson, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Jared Leto. I want to see this movie because the last time they did a haunted mansion movie was with Eddie Murphy, and it was horrible. That came out what, in the 90s? or maybe the early 2000s somewhere. I can't even remember when it came out, but it was bad. Um, so I'm excited to see this one. The trailer looks good. Um, it's a little funny to see Lakeith Stanfield in this movie. Lakeith Stanfield is out of left field, no pun intended, kind of casting for this type of movie. But hey, I'm a fan of his. I'm not knocking him. I love Lakeith Stanfield. It's just weird to see him in this type of movie. It just looks like a kiddie movie, But whatever, man. We'll see. You will see. Maybe the next trailer come out and I'll grasp it a little better. But I am excited to see it for some strange reason. Haunted Mansion drops in theaters July the 28th. All right. We have arrived to the end of summer into the month of August, winding up the summer movie season. Starting off in August, on August the 4th to be exact, we have the sequel to Meg 2, The Trench. And Meg came out in 2018 and it was whatever. It starred Jason Statham and he's returning for this film and it was a whatever movie. That's the best way I can put it. And this go around, there's really not much plot that they released about it, other than the fact there's another Magnodon that Jason Statham has to fight again. So that's being released on August the 4th in theaters. Meg 2, The Trench. Also on August the 4th, we have a computer animated superhero film that is aimed directly at my nostalgic heart. It is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. And this go around for the Turtles, Seth Rogen and his writing partner, Evan Goldberg, take a stab at this. They co-wrote this film, also co-produced this film, and Seth Rogen also provides the voice of Bebop. I'm excited to see how this goes. It looks good. The animation looks amazing. It kind of similar to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse type animation. Not so much that, but it reminds me of that. So I'm interested to see how this turns out. I'm a huge Turtles fan. Grew up watching the Turtles. Uh, Watched all of the live action versions. Unfortunately, but I mean they were what they were, for their time. But they had an animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that came out a few years back. TMNT. It was awesome. That was a really good animated Turtles movie. So we'll see how this turns out. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem drops in theaters on August the 4th. On August the 11th, we have a supernatural horror film that I didn't think I wanted, but I want this, and I'm excited for this. It is The Last Voyage of the Demeanor. And in case you don't know what that is a chapter in the novel, in the 1897 Bram Stoker's novel Dracula. And it was really wasn't a chapter, it was just a little section of the book that was entitled The Captain's Log, where Dracula travels from Transylvania to America on the ship the Demeanor. And when the ship came to port, everybody was missing. Everybody was either dead or missing off of the ship. So we never knew what all happened on that ship. Well, we get to see in this film. The plot of it is strange and horrifying events befall the doomed crew as they attempt to survive the ocean voyage from Transylvania to London, stalked each night by a merciless presence aboard the ship, a legendary vampire known as Dracula. When the Demeanor finally arrives off the shores of England, it is a derelict wreck of a ship. There is no trace of the crew. That is the premise for The Last Voyage of the Demeanor. And so you pretty much know that everybody's gonna die, but so there's no spoilers there. But hey, man, look, I want to see how it happens. So we get to find out what actually took place on the Demeanor, August the 11th, the last voyage of the Demeanor. And we have arrived finally, I guess a lot of you are saying, at the last summer release of this year. And I would say it's fitting. We began the summer with a superhero film, and we're going to end the summer with a superhero film. On August the 18th, we have DC's Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle, the trailer has me so hyped up for it. I am so excited for Blue Beetle. Reason being, I I love when we get different representation in film. You know, we've lived our entire lives with seeing just white folks, and I'm not trying to, you know, use the race card on everything, but it's the truth. All we've seen are white superheroes throughout our lives on the big screen or on television. You know, that's all we've seen. That's why it was such a big deal to see Black Panther. It was a big deal to see Namor pop up in the MCU. Now, this is a big deal to see this Latino superhero for the Latino culture, for their people. You know, you want to see that. You know, and I never really grasped that until we got Black Panther, and I didn't think we needed that so much until it came out, and I finally got to see my little nephews be able to dress up as Black Panther. My youngest little nephew, for his little birthday party a couple of years ago, it was a Black Panther birthday party, and he dressed up as Black Panther, and it really moved me to see that because I didn't get that, man. You know, I couldn't dress up as, I guess I could have theoretically, but you know, it wouldn't have made sense to me logically. So I never dressed up as a superhero. I didn't get to dress up as one when I was a kid. So it fills my heart with joy to see little black kids dress up as Black Panther now. Um, and the same thing for our Latino brothers and sisters. You know, they get to have a hero. And that's one of my main excitements for this film, along with I'm excited for the simple fact it must be something to this film because initially this was going to be an HBO Max exclusive. It was going to be dropped on HBO Max. But once they were going through production, they saw a rough cut of the film. They're like, "Oh no, we got to put this in the theater." And that's lo and behold, that's what happened. You think back to a few weeks ago, Evil Dead Rise was going to have the same treatment. It was going straight to HBO Max, but the studio said, "Oh no, this deserves to be in the theater." And I think that worked out perfectly for uh the filmmakers of Evil Dead Rise as well as Warner Brothers. So it was a good decision, and I'm confident that this was a good decision as well. The premise of Blue Beetle is after Jaime Reyes graduates from college and returns to his hometown, he is chosen to become a symbiotic host of the Scarab, an ancient alien biotechnological relic that grants him a powerful exoskeleton armor, turning him into the superhero Blue Beetle. I want to see this in the worst way. The trailer looks really good. The special effects looks amazing in the trailer. I am hyped up for this. Blue Beetle drops in theaters on August the 18th. Woo, boy, we had a lot. I told you it was a jam-packed summer, and it is going to be a jam-packed summer. So get your popcorn ready for this summer. Uh, a lot to choose from. I ain't even go over what's dropping on Netflix. I just took a couple of movies off of Netflix and whatnot. There are a lot coming out on Netflix this summer as well as Hulu. And so this is going to be a real good summer of entertaining. You know, I don't think we're ever going to get bored as far as being entertained by film and television uh, this summer. So that's the list I am tired. I am tired. I didn't realize it was that much until I was putting this list together. And I was like, my God, I'm gonna live in the theater this summer. I'm gonna be I might as well just give me a cot, a pillow and a blanket and just camp out in the theater. That's me all summer long. I'm excited for all of those films that I listed. It's so it should be interesting. But I want to know, what are all you're excited about out of all of those movies that are coming out in the near future. You can email the show kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also look me up on Twitter at the KB Radio Network, and on other social media platforms. Just look up the KB Radio Network. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or iHeartRadio, or wherever it is you're currently listening to the show. Also, don't forget that we're on YouTube. Swing over to YouTube and give this channel a subscribe and a like on this video, if you please. Everybody, thank you for joining me. It was a fun show to go over all these movies that are upcoming. It's going to be an exciting summer. Get your popcorn ready. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love one another. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.